Hello and welcome to another episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. I'm Mike Evans.
And I'm David Price.
And David, on this week's riff, what are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about this, Mike.
Shall I do that?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, hang on.
Yeah.
This is really cool because I can do my Doctor Who impression here. Have somebody when we're in shot.
Yeah, keep going.
Exterminate.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that's proof. That's proof we've got at least one.
Yes.
So we do have another one as well, but it's kind of quite heavy. So I think each one is about 16 kilograms without the stand.
And they are?
They are B&W.
Yes.
805 D4 signatures, Mike.
And here's my question.
Yes.
And we're going to try and answer this during our riff.
Yes.
Are they the best stand mounters you can buy?
No.
Okay, well that was easy. Should we go down the pub now?
Yes.
Excellent. They're pretty good though. They're pretty good. We've just been having a good old solid listen to them, and I'm deadly impressed.
So I'd say they are one of the best small stand mounters you can buy.
Yes.
I think they're about, as I said, around. I think they're £11,750 in the UK.
Say it fast.
And the stands are about 1,350.
Wow.
So that's quite expensive.
Yes.
And the reason that we're not sort of holding them and moving them around, firstly, it's too hot, and
it's the hottest day of the year today.
It is. And secondly, the stands are currently physically attached and screwed into the speakers. So,
yes.
So that's why Mike did his little kind of
my Dalek impression.
Weird Dalek impression at the beginning.
Can I say?
Yeah.
It's quite hot. I want to see if we can see this. This is the most amazing thing you've just given me. It's actually a glass which looks like a Coke can.
Yes.
It's really cool. Where'd you get that from?
Coke in it.
It's brilliant. Love it.
Yeah.
Can you just buy these commercially?
So they made them for a short period of time. Ooh. I think it was. Are you okay there?
I'm just checking it there myself.
I don't know. I don't know if you can get them at the moment, but I think they made them for a while and they did them in different colours.
They're super cool.
And you can get them on eBay, of course.
There we are.
Where else?
Top tip.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
So back to the B&Ws.
Yes. If you don't mind.
No. Sorry. I got distracted.
Yeah.
Got distracted.
Not difficult for you. So,
actually, these are a really interesting finish because it took me a while to cop that they're actually blue. Because they sort of, it's almost like a pearlescent finish. They almost sort of change colour depending on the sort of angle you're looking at them. But they're really quite fetching, I think.
They're lovely.
They look amazing.
Yeah.
And I would also say, and I'd agree with you here because you said it earlier, one of the best finished speakers I think I've ever had the pleasure of seeing.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Did you say they had quite a few coats of paint on them?
I think they've had a total of 11 coats.
Wow.
But some of those are kind of gloss lacquer coats.
That's almost as many as your TR7. well almost.
It was resprayed about that number of times.
That's exactly the reason
Trouble
why.
is, no one rubbed it down before they.
No, sure.
But in fairness to the speakers, they're finished a lot better than my TR7 is. It's a beautiful finish. It's a Nautilus grade paint finish. It's just sort of amazing. Done in the UK, obviously the 800 series are, basically handmade in the UK and to an incredibly high standard. And the signature versions have special finishes, as you'd expect. So you can get them in California Burl Gloss, which is a lovely kind of wood finish.
Okay.
Or these midnight blue metallic finishes. And I have to say personally, I love this colour because there's one car that had that paint finish that I always wanted.
It's got to be British.
Yeah, so it's a Rover 600.
No way.
Yeah.
That would look great in that.
So basically, the Rover on the 600 between about 96, 6 and 7 did a midnight blue. It's called midnight blue, the Rover colour. I'm not saying it's the same colour. But the midnight blue on the Rover was a little darker, but it also did Oxford blue.
Okay.
So if you kind of go halfway Oxford blue, halfway midnight blue, you've got exactly the colour of these.
If only we had an amplifier manufacturer who could colour match with like cars and things.
Yes.
Who could we be thinking of?
Yeah.
A certain Mr. Peter Farrow.
Yeah.
From
down the road.
From down the road, English Acoustics.
Yeah.
He could make one of his lovely valve amps match these. You'd have a gorgeous looking system then, wouldn't
give
you?
him ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got enough as it
Peter's
as it
a big BMW fan, isn't he? He's got,
He is.
I think, 804s or something like that, hasn't he?
I think he's got 801s or 802s.
Yeah, big old beasts, aren't they? Yes.
So, so basically, I think, D4s, he's got I think it's 802 D4s, or maybe 803
No, that sounds
D4s.
about right, yeah.
But obviously the D4s are not as good as the signature versions. They do an 801 signature and an 805 signature.
Sure.
And the signature versions are very special.
Right.
And I will, if you don't mind me boring you to death, I'll tell you why.
Please, as long as you don't mind me digging up relics from your bathroom.
What would that
Well,
be?
we're in Wiltshire again, so I have to do that. And it's always an interesting place to go and visit.
Is it?
So
my bathroom?
Yes, not Wiltshire. So we'll do a deal. You can say all the interesting stuff about the speakers, and I'll tell you the interesting stuff that's in your bathroom today.
Okay.
How's that?
Yep.
Good.
Okay. Can I carry on now?
You go first.
Okay. So the you paying attention?
I'm on the ball. Yes.
So the latest incarnation of the top normal production range, as it were, of Bowers and Wilkins speakers is the 800 series, and it's the latest one is the D4, and we've reviewed a couple, I think, already.
We have.
And to me, the D4 was a big moment because the D3s were very good, but I think the D4s were a real advance. They just sounded more musical, more natural, and more open. And obviously, the D4s came out, I think, about 4 years ago, and there will be, shock horror, a D5. So that's not me giving you inside information. It's like there's always another range every few years with Bowers and Wilkins. So they think of the signatures as a kind of halfway house. It's like almost a D4.5.
Like a facelift model in a car.
Yeah. So with BMW cars, it would be the LCI, the sort of the midlife range update. And
okay.
So basically, these are D4.5s, you could call them, and they've got technology and build aspects of the build which will appear on the D5 whenever that comes out. I don't know. I'm just guessing it's going to come out at some point. And they make quite a big difference. And I did a back-to-back 801 D4 versus the 801 signature D4 a few months ago. And the signature version was clearly better. And they had basically replaced some plastic parts with metal parts inside the speaker as part of the structure. They'd upgraded the crossovers and they'd done a few little tweaks. And it's the same here. So you've got an improved tweeter grill for the Diamond tweeter, which is a lovely tweeter, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Really nice, as dome tweeters go, one of the nicest I've heard, I'd say.
Yes.
Improved tweeter grill, which makes the sound better. It's smoother and more open. Upgraded crossover capacitors, and the top plate is now aluminium and machined to make it stronger. And there's a lovely Connolly leather trim on top.
I saw that.
Yep.
That's really sweet, isn't it?
It's really good.
Yes, really just sort of finishes it off beautifully, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, and I know you keep calling them Daleks, Mike, but Daleks never had leather trim, did they?
No, not that we know of. Certainly not Connolly leather.
No, exactly.
No.
So, a new mid-bass driver motor system as well. So those are all the tweaks to the D4 signature over the D4, and having reviewed the 805 D4 a few years ago for StereoNET, I can say that the new signature version is substantially better. I think it is, and I'll outline that in a way. But they're also $3,000 more. So,
Sure.
You know,
and I think also you do have to have the stands with them.
Yes.
They obviously designed for them. They fit spot on, and they look great on the stands.
Yes, they do.
So I think they really do make a big difference.
Absolutely.
We played some interesting music on them.
Yes.
Would you be kind of just to say what our source was for playing the tracks we played? And I'll grab some vinyl.
We're using my Sony PS8750 turntable, which we've just done a riff on.
Yeah.
And we're also using an Autophon MCX40 moving coil cartridge going straight into the Sony preamp, which is a TAE86 preamp, driving a Sony TAN86 power amp,
and a rather lovely cartridge, which we've also done a riff on.
And that's the Autophon MCX40.
Really lovely,
indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I've got some vinyl.
Okay.
Haven't heard this in forever.
Yeah.
Depeche Mode, and you've got it on 45, which actually
Yes.
I'm a little jealous of, and it's an original because there's no barcode.
Yeah.
See You, which
Well
is
spotted.
which is a great song.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because you were saying that we think this must have been recorded about the same time as the first album because it's got a really sort of lovely, smooth, analogy sound, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really nice.
It's like a small studio kind of analog sound of that time.
Album 2
Yeah.
was a little bit more digital and a
Bright
little bit more
sounding.
bright. Yes,
I think it still was analog recording, but it was definitely, mastered or EQ'd in a more kind of bright, punchy way.
Yeah.
But
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds really good.
I mean, that first Depeche Mode album, Speak and Spell, was, I think it was about 1982, possibly recorded in 81. And I think it was done on a pretty small, low-budget studio, but, just really simple. It sounded great.
Gadget Triv.
Yeah.
Who made the Speak and Spell?
That would be... you've got me there.
Now, I'm not sure. This is off the cuff. Okay. I think it was Texas Instruments.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Texas Instruments made the original Speak and Spell. Can I just say as well something which I think is the coolest thing I've seen in years and years and years?
Yes.
Your record sleeve is a genuine Hi-Fi Review record sleeve. I remember they used to sell these.
Yep.
You could buy them. You obviously you get the mag, and then you could order them, couldn't you? As a bolt-on.
Well, we had loads of them.
We did.
Both of us.
They did. And really nice record sleeves.
Yeah.
They're poly-lined, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
You played a song which got me, and I didn't know it because it's not on an album.
Yeah.
But it's excellent. The Waterboys, Glastonbury song.
Yeah.
This is stonking.
It's amazing.
This is a stonking song.
I think it's their best single ever.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm a bit gutted that I haven't heard it until today.
Yeah.
And it sounded really nice.
I'll do you a
on
mini
BMWs.
disc of it.
I'm still waiting for my mixtape. When you sold me that Nakamichi 2 years ago.
Oh dear.
You could put this on it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
sounded great.
Yeah.
On the BMWs. Sounded really, really good.
Yeah.
Yes. First class. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Great.
Then we had a little
great
bit
single.
Great single. Bit of a classic.
Yeah.
Rumours, obviously, everyone knows this.
Yeah.
But
it's the album that keeps getting better. The better stuff, the better equipment you play it on.
Yeah.
It's one of those albums that sounds really good on relatively kind of low end hi-fi. Then you go to kind of mid hi-fi. It sounds wasn't quite so good as I thought, and then it starts to get great on really.
It sounded so good.
Yeah.
And I said to you, it almost sounded a little bit like a remix because we played "You Make Loving Fun" on the B-side song after the Chain.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to hear Stevie Nicks' backing vocals come through so strongly. I hadn't really noticed that before.
Yeah.
And in fact, at some points they almost seemed louder than the lead vocal.
Yeah.
Really cool. Really, really brilliant. Love that. That was great. That really showed the speakers off to me because I was hearing, so much detail there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the number one for me, which I would never have guessed would have been in a million years, was this, which is the Doobie Brothers album, which is just fantastic. This is Taking It to the Streets, baby.
Yeah.
So this is just superb. I don't know which song we played.
Yeah. So
please
let
be
me
show
you. So it was for Someone Special.
For Someone Special. So good. A massive Steely Dan vibe going on.
Yeah.
100% Steely Dan vibe going on. As recorded as well as Steely Dan,
Yes,
for my ears.
I think so.
And with these, it was
probably
just...
a lot more cheaply as well.
and quicker.
Probably didn't do 78 takes
No, exactly.
of the one vocal.
And but it blew me away.
Yeah.
It sounded so awesome.
Yeah.
It really did. I was unbelievably impressed with that.
I mean, I do like the Doobie Brothers, but only in kind of limited amounts.
No, I get it. I've
but
never
this
really.
is a brilliant track off this album.
Yes,
It's
stunning.
great. Yeah.
That was a great choice,
Yeah.
by the way. That was an inspired choice. Yeah, I love that.
1976. It's superbly recorded. Just great, and kind of almost Steely Dan Aja kind of sound quality.
Yes, yeah, it really reminds me of that.
Yeah, but
100%.
Unlike Aja, they didn't invite 15 different bass players to do 4 bars and then sack them.
But Michael McDonald's on it.
He is,
well.
absolutely, yeah.
That brings me to your toilet. I found this in your toilet. This is really cool. This is a book called Booze and Vinyl. And I mean, what's not to like? This just ticks every single box.
It's the story of my life,
and it's fascinating. There's some lovely things in here. Look, can I sort of give there's the Ramones. Look, we've got a big sort of double praise for in there, and then after that, it gives you what to drink while you're listening to it, which is just excellent. So the Ramones goes with a whiskey smash and Jello shots, which to be fair, it probably does.
I haven't tried. I can't personally vouch for that.
We should do this. We should have a crack at this.
So, what goes with the Eagles, by the way? The Hotel California.
I don't know. I've lost it now.
So,
I can tell you what goes with Tapestry. There we go. Hotel California goes with a beach. Oh, of course, goes with a beachcomber cocktail and a mojito.
Yeah.
There we are. See?
Well,
yes.
I have to try that later.
I've heard of food and wine matching.
Yes.
But a vinyl and alcohol matching surely is the absolute future.
Well, I find most music that I like goes very well with Asahi Superdry from a can, well chilled. But there you go.
And we've got Dark Side of the Moon, which goes with an Eclipse cocktail and an Astral salad.
I thought you were going to say acid tab.
Well, I was yes, quite. Tom Waits. Yeah. See, Tom Waits goes with an old fashioned. Of course he does.
Yeah.
Just that's the best book ever. Booze and Vinyl. I'm going to look for that on eBay.
Oh, God.
That's just brilliant. I think that's so cool.
Well, to be honest, they are two of our favourite pastimes.
Just absolutely. No, that's excellent.
Do you mind if I'm trying to do a review here, Mike?
Sorry. Yes.
So,
yeah. Go for it.
Okay. So So if anyone is actually watching who wants to know about these speakers, I think so. Obviously, they're fairly modestly sized speaker. They're not actually bigger than me. That's just the proportion of the camera. But I think they are very clean and open and detailed and revealing. Extremely clean and open and detailed and revealing. But the interesting thing for me is that Bowers speakers in the past, you go back to the much earlier 800 series, they did, they were kind of clean and open sounding then, but they were a bit clinical, I think. So I'm thinking about like the pre-Diamond series, the pre-D series, whatever, like the old Matrix and the kind of Kevlar stuff. As the D series, the Diamond series has moved forward from about sort of D2, D3, they started to get much more fun. And these are really great fun. They are very good rhythmically, aren't they?
Amazing. Yeah.
Just so, the Beach Boys, the Water Boys song. We've got
Beach Boys on the brain.
Yeah, we've got Summer on the brain.
Yeah.
The Water Boys single Glastonbury song was really punchy and propulsive, and the drums were really kind of tight and hard, and it just really, it was very kind of engaging and immersive sound, I thought.
Yeah, superb. Superb. And the detail coming through, as I said, from Fleetwood Mac was just astonishingly good. It did almost sound like a remix.
Well, I think that Fleetwood Mac album can sound quite pedestrian. You've got to have really subtle, highly resolving hi-fi to get to really enjoy it. Basically the higher if you listen to that to Rumours on a kind of cheap streamer or something, it just sounds bland, I think, doesn't it? The better you go, and especially with the speakers, the more you realise there's an awful lot of very nuanced kind of, to use that horrible phrase, micro dynamics.
Wow.
I think it's the sort of accenting on the playing and stuff is very nuanced, and it just becomes very beguiling and very kind of hypnotic the more resolving the system gets.
Yes.
And the D4 SIGs, the 805 D4 signatures, just absolutely nailed it. So a lot of fun to listen to. Lovely, sweet treble, delicate, sweet treble with a hi-hat cymbal that sounds like a real hi-hat cymbal.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound processed, doesn't sound airbrushed or glossy, as some speakers can. Some ribbon tweeters, for example, can, they almost lose the bite of the instrument. They're lovely and smooth, but they don't have the
I get it.
bite.
And these have got a really controlled bass as well, despite quite a big port.
Yep.
So I was really impressed with that.
Absolutely. They work well. We had them pretty close to the back wall without the foam bungs in.
Yes.
But they do have foam bungs if you really need it. But I think the great thing is that they give you an awful lot of that kind of special sauce of the 800D series, but they're a very accessible package because they're relatively small. Obviously the big floor standards are massive, aren't they?
Yes.
Some of them make your isobarics look quite
tiny. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
So you get a lot of what's nice about the 800 series, but in a compact package for a medium to smaller sized room, I reckon.
Yes.
So
really good. Yeah. Really impressed.
Yeah. And Dynamic 2, Dynamic 2 extended bass, but it's not too extended, but it's not bloated. It integrates really well from bottom to top, doesn't it?
Yes.
And
and not too bad to drive.
No,
pretty straightforward to drive. Actually,
that's a great point.
Because obviously with some of the speakers because obviously this size speaker is infinite baffle. You need to have a power station, but they just seem to be going really loud but still be really controlled.
Yeah, we're talking about my NS1000s. They are very big and infinite baffle design. They're standing next to the signatures at the moment.
Yeah.
The 805 signatures are relatively benign load. Their nominal impedance of 8 ohms, and they go lowest they get down to is 4.6, which is pretty easygoing compared to a lot of speakers. So you don't need a massive, super gutsy amp.
Sure.
They're 88 dB sensitivity, so they like a bit of power, but you don't have to have a kind of He-Man amplifier.
But you made a good point. You need a good source. Just a cheap streamer won't do. You need to have a really good source. We need to apply our new riffometer.
Oh, yes.
So we've got our new riffometer. Yes. So may I ask you to do the honours? What are you going to give this?
So is that the with an extra decimal point?
You can put a decimal point in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them 9.0.
Are you?
Just to really wind everyone up who's been moaning about. So
that's really funny.
So let me just just before I give you my serious answer to that.
Okay.
So what else have you got at that price? Right. So you've got the Magico A1, which is a really kind of high tech aluminium enclosure beryllium tweeter. You've got the something you may not have seen, Mike, but it's pretty crazy, and I'll try and get some in for a review. The MBL Radialstrahler 126.
Very good. Easy for you to say.
It wasn't actually. So I'm, if I had a can of Asahi, I couldn't say that. So so very crazy, wacky, omnidirectional, crazy MBL driver. But this shows you what the kind of things you get at that price. 13,000 quid. Stand mount speakers. They are all pretty kooky. They're all pretty wacky and weird and very diverse in their kind of designs.
Yes.
The Sonus Faber Electa Amateur 3, which is kind of more conservative design, but beautifully made, amazing Italian cabinetry, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Harbour M40.2 as well, kind of more sensible shoes BBC. But I'm just saying that there's the choice of these rivals to this speaker, they're all kind of really different, and they're doing it their own way.
Yes.
And I think it's like with cars, you know, if you go over a certain level, if you're going to go past BMW and Mercedes, you know, you get to these crazy supercars, don't you? And
Yes,
they're all doing
yeah.
things, they're all absolutely bonkers and mad.
Yes.
And that's kind of like the high end in hi-fi as well.
I agree.
So for me, the 805 D4 signature is a kind of really sensible shoes, does everything, works in many rooms easily, isn't terrible to drive. You know, it's a great kind of, you know. Oh, hang on a second.
That's BMW saying thanks very much indeed for all the compliments.
I'll just turn that off. That's Dave, my mechanic.
Oh, is it?
So yeah.
Which car's broken down now?
None, actually. Thank you, Mike.
It's not true. It's such a fib.
So as I was trying to get a range overview, and I've been interrupted once again.
Yeah, but not by me, by Dave the mechanic. God.
I better phone him back. I better shut up, and I need to ring him back. So,
Yes, okay.
Anyway, so the 805 D4 signatures are a great kind of do-it-all, kind of universal panacea kind of product. They're not wacky. They don't need crazy amps. They don't only work in some rooms. They're great kind of all-round, high-end, small, compact standmounter. So I'm not going to give them 9.0. I'm going to give them 9.3.
There you
How about
are.
that, Mike?
There you are. Yeah, excellent. Worth that every day of the week, I would say.
Yes.
Every single day of the week.
How about you?
I'm really struggling to see sort of where you'd give them sort of less than full marks. I really am. They're just they're just such lovely speakers, and they're just they remind me so much of the 803 D4s, which I had living at home for a while, which I just adored.
They sounded great in your room.
They really did sound amazing in my room. So they're sort of, it's almost like someone sort of cut them in half.
Yes.
So I'm going to give them 9.6 because I think they're super cool.
Controversial.
There we are. So look, on that note, thank you so much for watching this episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. I hope you like our new riffometer, due to popular demand, of course. And we'll look very much forward to seeing you at the next one. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Say